Hey guys, I was doing some research online before I started my live with a particular digitizer. And I found a file on his page. It's a free file that he offers. All right, his name is Vitor. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take this file and turn it into a patch. But it's a really big patch, but it's a simple big patch. And on today's episode, I'm gonna show you just how to make it. All right, so this is the patch right here. It's a really big patch. It's about 10 by 5. It's a 10 by 5 file. And I'm gonna make it on this big hoop, but I'm gonna make it out of felt. So we're gonna be using a felt material. We're gonna take this felt. I'm going to use some double layer of this 3.0 stabilizer, and I'll be putting felt. So the patch is gonna be on felt, and then I'll be attaching that to my sweater. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So I'm gonna start running the design. And the colors, I didn't quite match the colors like they had it on the run sheet, but that's okay. When it comes to embroidery, it doesn't matter. You can pick your own colors. So I picked my own colors. Hopefully it comes out good. I don't think it's gonna come out bad. So let's get to it. All right, so I went on Vitor's website and I downloaded this image. This is it right here. I think it's a really nice seascape. The city lines, the colors are just amazing. I really like the composition, and I thought this would be great to make a simple patch. So I'm taking this image, which is primarily made of satin stitches and hand-drawn run stitches. It's super simple. It's very light. It's not going to be heavy. It'll wear very well, and you're not going to feel like you have a plaque on your chest like a bulletproof vest. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to select the image. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to create an outline around it. And right now it has a 0.8 outline, 0.08. If I click to preview, you're gonna see that it's very tight against the image, and I wanna give myself a little bit of space, and I really don't wanna be cutting around these edges. So I'm just gonna increase the distance a little bit. Let's say we go 30. And we're gonna preview that. Okay, that's nice. That's gonna give me a nice background. We're gonna put on the white felt. Look what happens when I go to 25. Oh, that looks good too. Okay, so let's do it 25. Let's go to 20. Let's see what happens at 20. Click preview. Okay, you see this right here? I don't want to be cutting in between here. So 25 is gonna be my minimum. I'm gonna make two of them, one at 25 and one at 30. One will be my tack down, one will be my placement. So let's click OK. And let's turn that color to black just so we can see it. So that's gonna be my first stitch. And let us, since that's gonna be my first stitch, I gotta move it all the way to the top. So now the first thing it's gonna do is stitch this out, but I have to convert it to a stitch right now. It's still just an artwork. So we're gonna right click, convert to run stitch, but I want this to be very strong. So I'm gonna turn it into a bean stitch, a triple bean stitch at 3.0. And that's gonna really tack down this patch onto my sweater. Now I want to do my placement stitch. So the placement stitch is just going to be a little bit bigger than this one. So we can hide that. We're going to select the whole background again, right click. We're going to go to utility and create an outline. And here we're going to go straight to the 30. I think we did 25 before, and this is going to be 30. We're gonna click preview, there it is, click OK, and let's turn this one red so you can see it, there it is. So now, when we turn them both on, you'll see that the red is just outside. So we're gonna use the red as our cut line, and we're also gonna use it as our placement stitch. So I'm gonna take this, it's gonna be the second step. First we're gonna do our, actually it has to be the first step, there we go. So the first step is gonna be our placement stitch, followed by the tack down stitch. Hold on a second. Do you see what happened? How the letters went down? We need to ungroup this. Let's turn this artwork into the green. That'll separate them. Gotta keep them separated. So the Porto is gonna be last. So that has to go all the way to the end. There we go. Now it's on top. So here we have the light green is going to be our placement stitch. The black is going to be our tack down stitch. And then we're just going to turn this nice image, put it on a felt piece. And by creating this border, we'll be able to adhere it or sew it onto a sweater. And what that's going to do, it's going to keep the inside of the sweater nice and clean. So let's get this order just right. So that's my green rayon. That's going to be my outline. And I think that's it. For this one though, for the green, I want it to be a very light stitch. So we're gonna convert it to a run stitch, but we're gonna make it about 5 millimeters And that way, when I have to tear it off, it'll be easy. So let's see what it's gonna look like. Let's run it. It's gonna do our outline stitch first. And then we're gonna do the tack down. It's gonna tack the felt to the material. It's gonna embroider the design. It's gonna look just beautiful. I think that's great. All right, now we're gonna send this over to the machine and let's go run it. I've got the machine set on automatic manual, and first thing we're gonna do is it's gonna do the placement stitch. I'm gonna put the felt on there, and then I'm gonna cut around it, then it's gonna do the tack down stitch, and then we're good to go. So let's hit the star. Actually, I'm just gonna put the felt right on it. Let's just do a trace first. So let's lock it, yes, and we're gonna come over here, trace, and we're gonna do a trace design. It's gonna go to needle 1. There she goes. So I'm gonna hold down my foot. It's a big patch, guys. It's gonna be about 10 inches wide, and I'm gonna put it on a hoodie or a sweater. I haven't decided exactly what, but the base of my patch is gonna be white. It's gonna be the felt. And this is not a very heavy patch. It's a very light patch. It's made of primarily run stitches and satin stitches, so it's gonna be just perfect. All right, so I'm gonna take my felt. You could use wool or anything like that. If you're using wool, make sure you wash it first. All right, so I'm just gonna have it do the tack down stitch. I'm gonna cut it, then it'll do, it's gonna do the placement stitch right on top of this. Then I'll do the cut stitch, and that's it. I'm gonna keep it real easy since I know I have to cut it out anyway. And I'm not gonna have all that extensive satin on the borders. It's gonna be a nice free edge that's gonna show the felt. So just like that, I'm gonna hit start and get it ready to go. Here we go. We're gonna go back home and let's do the first color. Okay, here it goes. So I'm floating the material. All right, now we got to get some scissors and cut it. We're gonna take this out and we're gonna cut around. So you'll notice that I left this piece on the hoop because sometimes if I were to cut it, I would have lost some material. So this way I maximize my material and I don't waste it too much. So now I'm just gonna cut right along the line. So by leaving the material like this, notice that I was able to save some and I can still use these other parts for other things. So, you know, that's one way to save it and you don't have too many scraps walking around. So we're gonna put this on the machine and hit start and let it do its thing. So I put it on automatic mode, hit save, and now we just let it run. Man, that looks great. Even though we didn't match the colors exactly to the palette, it still came out really, really nice. And that's the one thing I really love about embroidery is that at any point you can change the colors and put whatever you like. It doesn't have to stay exactly the same, but I think this is gonna look great on the sweater. Now we're gonna cut it out and we're just gonna sew it right onto the sweater using the embroidery machine. Let's clean it up a little bit. All right, that's it. Now we got to cut it out. I'm cutting right under the felt. And then if I miss anything, I can always trim it later. So let's just do a cursory cut right now, and then it'll be easier for me to do it in my hand. Like this. There it is. Look at that, it looks beautiful. It's gonna look nice on the sweater. Let's go get that sweater. So I looked around in the bins and I found this sweater here. So I'm gonna make it, I was gonna make it with this sweater. It's a really nice sweater, but then I found this hoodie and I was like, maybe let me make it out of this hoodie. And then I looked a little bit further and I found this one. But this one already has some puff letters on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rip this off and then repurpose the sweater. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be able to use the sweater again, give it some life, and the patch is gonna cover up the old embroidery just fine. So let's get to it. Some people have the idea that you can't use old embroidery. Well, I'm here to tell you you can. Just make sure that you take your time when you're ripping this out. I was using a scalpel and a little pair of snips. You can use some seam rippers. Depending on how dense the embroidery is, ripping the seams out is pretty easy, and you can always save old garments. If you ever made a mistake on a project, you can always go over it again. If it leaves a hole, you can always patch it up. You can always put the same garment underneath it to, fix the garment. Just make sure that you take your time and that's right, you saw it. I just got myself. So take your time. Lucky I have thick fingers. I cleaned it up the best I could. Again, I'm not trying to make this perfect because I will be covering it up with this. Remember that the placement for a design is 3 inches from the top, so I've got my 3 inches right here. My design should go right there, and it's going to cover everything just fine. All we have to do is make sure that it's aligned properly and that it's nice and straight. Now, before I sew this on to the actual sweater, I will be applying Wonder Under on it. It's fusible backing, so I'm going to use this little, it's the Pelon Wonder Under. We'll have it in the link in the descriptions below. All right, it's the 805, the Pelon 805. It's Wonder Under. It's the original paper backed fusible web. So what that's going to do is it's going to keep my design nice and flat, and when I'm done sewing it onto the sweater with the embroidery machine, I'm going to put it in the heat press so that they fuse together and become one. And it's not going to get, this is very, very light. It's very light. It's not going to be thick like glue, so it's going to make it just perfect. So here is look how thin that is. That's it right there. So this is going to adhere to the back, and all that's going to do is just give it some rigidity. So we're going to put this like this. This goes right on top of it, just like that. And I'm not too worried about getting it on there perfect, because I'm gonna cut out the edges, and then we're gonna put it in the heat press, in our 16 by 20 heat press. I'm not trying to burn my face. I'm just trying to see if there's any heat coming out of the iron. Do not try this at home. I'm a trained professional. Is that hot yet? Let's turn it on first. Hold on. There we go. Let's get it hot. It'll let me know when it's hot. All right, she's hot. That's it. Now, you can skip this step if you had washed the sweater first, and if you had washed the linen backing first as well. So if both materials were pre-washed and shrunk, then you can do it. But because I haven't washed any of them, I don't want to do that. This will keep one of them from shrinking over the other. So this is a good way to keep the material steady. And then once we're done, we're going to put this in the heat press. Everything will fuse. You notice that it made it a little bit stiffer, but once we put it together and wash it, it's going to go away and it's going to be just fine. So all we have to do is cut the excess off of here, And that's it, really. I'll take the back off of it, the paper back, and I don't need to be, I can cut into this part. It doesn't have to be exactly on the edge because we're gonna sew it down anyway. So I don't need to be, I could leave myself like a seam allowance and not have to worry about it. So this is gonna be just great. Making sure I don't cut the patch. And this is one way that you guys can create patches without on regular designs. All you need is the linen to have the backing for the patch and the border, and that's it. It might not be your traditional patch, but this in essence is a patch. It's just a really big one, a very simple big patch. Making sure not to cut the felt. I'm just cutting the paper, and then we'll peel it off. And we're going to use the embroidery machine to sew it onto the sweater. So if you don't have a sewing machine, you don't need to worry about it because we're going to use our embroidery machine. If you had a sewing machine, you could just do this in the sewing machine. But one of the things you risk when sewing this to a sewing machine is that it may move as you're sewing it. But with the embroidery machine, once we do our tack down stitch and place it on top of it and do another tack down stitch. That's right. We're going to do 2 tack down stitches. If we do the placement stitch is going to be bigger than the actual material, and I don't want that stitch to show. So I'm going to do the tack down stitch. I will fast forward to the tack down stitch, rewind, and do the tack down stitch again, and we're good to go. So right now this is perfect. All we have to do is hoop it, and I'm not going to be putting any backing on this. I'm going to leave it just like that. We don't need backing because we're just sewing something around it. That's not going to mess anything up. If I was doing the embroidery on the sweater, then I would use backing, but the fact that I'm just sewing it on, we're not going to need backing. So we can just take the hoop, get it centered, and we're pretty much good to go. So I'll take my mighty hoop, put it right where I want it. We want to make sure that we keep it nice and square. There's the center of my hoop. Right there, our shoulders are nice and square. So it will be on the upper portion, and we are gonna do our trace and everything to make sure that everything gets nice and covered. It's gonna be perfect right there. Again, I don't need to use any backing because I'm just gonna sew. I'm not gonna really embroider. I will be coming from the top using the neck, so I'm gonna put it just like this. That looks good. That's gonna be perfect, just like that. All right, let's go to the embroidery machine and load it up. All right, I got the new bobbin. Now, make sure that you put your hand under here and make sure that the sweater didn't curl in on itself. So we have our design. Let's move this into position. We want it to be right here. And the center is right on that building, right there. So let's do a design trace. And I'm gonna hold this just around the edge to see where it goes. It's a little too low. We need to bring it down a little bit. Almost got it. It's pretty close. I just want to make sure that it covers that little piece right there. So let's bring it towards me just a hair. So we're gonna make it with white thread so that it just blends right into here. And we're gonna go to the float mode. So here, if we go to float, the first step is the first ring, the placement stitch, but we're gonna go to the tack down stitch, to step number 2. So that's a tack down stitch. You see it's gonna start right up there, which is here. So I'm gonna let it rip, and we're gonna pick that color. It's already picked, it's in white, so let's start it. I am going to put it in automatic manual so it stops by itself. There it goes. So let's rewind one more time. So I rewound it back again. Since I do have the fusible backing, in order to make sure that this doesn't shift at all when I'm embroidering it, I'm going to use the iron and heat this in place. And once it's fused, I can go back and run the stitch again, and I don't have to worry, because sometimes as it runs, it may shift and move very slightly. So I don't want that to happen. So now we're gonna peel this off, and I'm gonna iron it on so that it sticks. So make sure everything is nice and flat. Now I'm just going to line everything up. Make sure it's right on. I got some heat resistant tape so I can tape it down so it doesn't move, because I am going to turn it over and heat it from the inside, but I don't want it to move. All right, I'm gonna leave it like that, and as it's running, I'll slowly peel the tape off to make sure it doesn't move. So we're ready to go. Let's start it. The bean stitch really held it together, and we are actually all done. Now it's just a matter of cleaning off the little edges, and we're all done. Look at that. I've got just a couple little strings that I'll have to address, but otherwise it's ready to go. Take a look at how good Iram looks in this sweater. He's usually behind the camera, not in front of it, but anytime one of my coworkers says he likes something I made, that's a great day. All right, guys, so I hope you liked the episode. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we're coming out with the next great content. And if you have any comments, please let me know in the comments below, and just tell me what you think of the sweater. If you would have done it differently, or if you would have added or taken away some stuff. But we took a sweater that was, kind of used, but we made it into a brand new sweater instead of messing up a brand new one. This is nice. And look, the good thing I like about it is that on the inside of the sweater, it's a very light design, and all you see really is the stitches. Don't forget, forget about this stuff here. I can clean that up. But had this been a brand new sweater, all we would have had was the stitches on the outside. So all in all, I think it came out great, and this is a great idea. A wonderful way to make a design into a patch and then just put it onto a garment. Anyway, leave a comment below and let me know what you think. We'll see you guys on the next video.